Welcome back to the channel, guys. It has been a really long time since I posted, 2 months to be exact, which isn't too long, but when you're uploading every single week or sometimes twice a week, 2 months is a lot of time. But for good reason though, I am moving. I'm moving from Riverside, which is basically Los Angeles for anyone who's not familiar with the area, to Austin, Texas, which is about 1,400 miles away or a 19-hour drive. I'm actually really excited though. I love moving. I've moved a ton in my life. I started out in London and then my parents moved to New York and then moved all around there, graduated high school, went up to upstate New York for college, went out to California after college with my girlfriend. We moved around here a little bit and then now we're moving to Austin, Texas. So I'm really excited. I love living in new places. I love learning new areas. The biggest reason we're moving is because me and my girlfriend wanted a bit more land. But for land in Riverside, LA area, you have to move to the mountains. And the mountains get snow and we didn't want that, or then you have to move to wildfire territory. But we didn't want wildfires because my girlfriend does a lot of animal rescue work and we usually have like 4 or 5 dogs sometimes, and that's just, if a wildfire came through, that would just be devastating. But another reason we're moving is because I needed a bigger garage. This is a 1.5 car garage, which is great and it's been great, but within about 6 months of living here, I just quickly outgrew it. I mean, every single square foot of space around here is completely used. I was about to install like custom shelving because I just, I need to utilize the ceiling space at this point because I don't have anywhere to put things, and I'm just, there's just stuff everywhere. There's no space for anything else. I mean, I'll just show you really quickly that, don't look at that, but like gas tank, this, thing down there, it's a beatbox that my girlfriend's restoring, the Datsun, shop crane, engine, welder, I mean, everything, everywhere. More auto stuff. Everything is full here. Everything's full here. Everything is full there. I mean, like every single spot in here. I even have things hanging from the ceiling because I have no more space. I've like outgrown it. I also, outside and around here, go out into the abyss. Completely full of Datsun parts. Completely full. Like, where do I even put all this? And then even out here, completely full. The point being that I have just outgrown the space so rapidly, and I want to keep making YouTube videos. I love making these videos. I love putting them together. I love working on cars. I mean, I've always loved working on cars. The YouTube videos is a new thing that I really like to do, but I need more space. And I'm really excited to say that I'm going to have more space. And basically, once we get to this new place, I want to get the Datsun done. The Datsun has been kind of like project in and out for about a year now, and I feel like it's gone on for long enough that it needs to get done. And like, I want to finish it. I want to show you guys the body kit. I know I've shown you guys the front fender, but like together, I want to show you the body kit installed on the car, on a finished car, Well, enough of this intro explanation thing. I felt like I owed you guys for not posting for 2 months. I was doing really good at getting videos out on a regular basis, but that, completely flopped about 2 months ago. All right, well, enough of that shit. So basically what we're gonna be doing in this episode is we're going to be rebuilding the Datsun. I'm moving at the most inconvenient time during this restoration. I don't think I have one bolt left on the car right now. Like literally every single bolt on the entire car has been taken off. I'm at the most taken apart part of the restoration. Awful time to move. Anyway, we're going to be rebuilding the Datsun to a point where it can be rolled onto a trailer and transported 4 to 5 states away. I'm not sure how many states it is. I know, some of you guys are probably gonna think like, why wouldn't you just put it on the trailer the way it is right now, put all the parts with it and take it that way. And that's because there's so many parts, and transporting them, like the hood, for instance, the hood, the best way to transport the hood is to put it back on the car. I mean, I don't have big enough boxes and like wrapping and everything to put every individual part away where it won't get damaged. So I just figured bolting everything back together, rolling it onto a trailer would be the best option to keep everything safe from getting damaged. And I'll probably have to like fix the undercoating in a few areas where like the old parts scrape the metal and like expose the metal, but that's fine. We can fix that later. That's not a big deal. There's just so many little variables and things that rebuilding is the best way to do this. At least in my opinion. Now to get that gas tank mounted up, we need the straps. And the straps are in this box over here. Thankfully, I have tried to keep everything really organized, so putting this all back together shouldn't be too difficult. Box number 1. We're probably gonna open up a lot of boxes in this episode. It's like an art piece. The new and old. Maybe I should put this as an NFT. It'll sell for, you know, $69 million. Okay, these are gas lines and brake lines. And we're going to zip tie them, or, you know, some way to attach them to the body. I know we got the gas lines back on. I feel really guilty about putting these all on because I'm like scraping the undercoating in like a ton of areas. And I know like it's gonna buff out, and like if it doesn't, I'll just, you know, I'll scuff it up really quickly and just throw another, you know, little bit of undercoating on it. But man, does it hurt to see all this work just to be scrapped up. Scrapped up? The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this mustache bar put on, and the lower control arm supports, and the emergency brake spring system and all that stuff, so that I have some brakes when loading this onto the trailer. And now we're gonna get in the emergency brake cable. This is the one that came with my Datsun. I ended up having to chop off the ends of the cables because it was so corroded. Luckily we had a spare. This one is from the Barnyard haul. It's one of the things I picked up from all those parts that I got. So let's get that in, and then we'll get the differential bracket in as well. So I basically got everything on the car that I can get on the car while the car is on its side. And now it's time to drop it back onto the ground, which it hasn't been on the ground in like 3 months. So this is, you know, this is kind of exciting. So now we have the pushover jig taken off in the rear and the front. We have the car completely on jack stands, and now we're gonna get the suspension back in. So we'll start with the front, and then we'll do the rear, and then we'll see from there. So the suspension up front is all finished. We're gonna put the steering wheel in so that the car can be turned when we're putting it onto the trailer. And the steering column bolts onto the pedal box, so the pedal box also has to go in. We now have movement. Look at that. Ready to turn all our problems away. That just sounds so great. Now we got the front and rear suspension done. This is looking really cool. I don't know about you guys, but it gives me like a Mad Maxy type of vibe with the exposed coils in the front. Makes me want to put a big ol' engine in it and just rip it right now. Even though I don't have brakes and I would just probably end up in a wall. But it looks pretty cool right now. I also love what the steering wheel looks like and feels like. The one that came with this car was not the original, and I've always loved the wooden steering wheels that came with the 240s. I think they're gorgeous. That will definitely have a full episode on the restoration because it's very weathered. The wood is very dry. There's a little bit of rot in the wood actually, and then the metal's all, you can see it's all corroded. So the next few things that we're gonna be doing, this is the piece that it bolts up here and allows the hood to attach to that. Because the hoods on these cars open like this. So this is that front contraption, hood contraption thing. We're gonna put the master cylinder in because, I don't know, easier to transport, and door latches so that we can put the doors on. Then we have windows, rear hatch, and then I actually just ordered the windshield weather strip because the weather stripping that came on this car was completely corroded and it turned to dust when I took it off. So I need a new weather stripping to install the old window. The next thing we're gonna be doing is the dash. This is the 260Z dash that I picked up from that parts haul. It is an original with no cracks. It just was sitting in a garage with a bunch of rats. So it has like rat poop decolorization in a few spots. I think the next part we're gonna put in is the engine because I wanna get the hood on, but once the hood's on, the engine can't go in. So best place to transport an engine, in an engine bay.
Sunshine, blue skies, please go away. Girl has found another. My life is filled with gloom. So day after day, I stay locked up in my room. I know to you, that sounds strange. Sunshine, blue skies, please go away. Girl has found another. My life is filled with gloom. So day after day, I stay locked up in my room. I know to you, that sounds strange.
Now we're gonna get the fenders on. Clearing this out one part at a time. Now we're gonna get these doors on. These are also from the 260Z from the parts haul. They're both dentless and in really good condition. I buffed out, not this side, this one. At one point buffed it out just to see what the metal was actually like under all this dirt, and it's really nice. So I I actually got rid of both of my yellow doors that came with my 240, and I'm replacing them with these.
That sounds strange, but I wish it would rain.
So we got the hood and the doors on. We're having an issue with this rear hatch where I got the piston put on, and you pull it down and then it stops. Like the piston is too long. But it turns the Datsun into a hell of a speedtail. Look at that. It's the hatchback everyone wanted. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I think maybe I have it latched in the wrong position. These screws go to it's like a piece of plastic that helps soften against the door. And then this down here is a groove for this thing so that when the door comes down, it doesn't rattle at all. And then the piston's supposed to go in this hole, but there's no other holes, so I really don't know where the piston's supposed to go. I think maybe I'm missing something, missing like a latch. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna look around in the parts closet and see if I can't find something. Okay, so basically I found another piston in the parts shed, and it has this little bracket on it. And I've tried and tried and tried to attach this bracket to the wall here where the piston's supposed to go, but there's no way that it attaches. So I actually ended up doing some searching online and finding some old pictures of 240Zs with the hatches open, and it looks like under here where this hole is, where I thought it was supposed to go. So there's two broken weld points. So this bracket is actually supposed to bolt to a piece that's welded under here, but it's gone in my car. So there's no place to put this piston. So the piston's not gonna go on. I'm gonna have to find that weldable piece. So when we're rebuilding the Datsun, we have that weld back up in there. But for now, no pistons. We'll just use blocks of wood. Time for some tiny windows. Tiny window number 2. Back to the shed. And we get the taillights. All right, I think the last thing we're gonna put on is the windshield wiper cowl, this piece of metal that goes right here. It's been stored behind this shop press for, I think, ever since I took it off in the first, maybe the second episode. Just been sitting back there waiting to get restored. Last but not least, I'm gonna throw some wheels on this bad boy. Got 2 in here, and a couple out here. We've gone from a shell to a rolling shell in the matter of an episode. It's crazy how this can take me, or this did take me, 8 episodes to dissect and get this down to the shell that it was when we started this episode. And it's only taken me 1 episode and like 2 days, technically, to put this whole entire car back together. I mean, the car is missing, a lot of things. There's tons of little pieces that aren't in the car. It's just enough that it can roll onto the trailer and the big pieces are bolted on so they don't get dented and whatnot. Belittles how much work I've done on this car because it did not take this long to take everything off. Even just like this windshield wiper cowl, these little bolts, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts that holds this together. They're really small flathead screws, and each and every one of these bolts, I remember I had to heat every single one of these up. I'd have to twist them back and forth, heat them up, twist them back and forth, and just like over and over and over again. until they came out so that I wouldn't lose the bolts in the body. Because if you lose them in there, they're so tiny. The only way you're really gonna get them out is to drill them out. So much time went into making sure that bolts weren't stuck in the body, which I pretty much, I didn't leave any. I mean, really, the only place I broke off bolts were on the fenders. I broke off, I think 1 or 2 on each side. Yeah, there's a broken one there. And on the other side, there's one of these is broken off. But besides that, I didn't break off any bolts in this entire car. I would just, very slowly heat them up, back and forth, repetitive things so that, they didn't get stuck in the car. And that just takes so much time. Whereas screwing 2 bolts back in takes, a minute? I like it. I think it looks good. I think the 240Z Safari ones, the off-road 240Zs look really cool. And when it's lifted up like this with all the different color panels, kind of has a little safari look to it. I'm digging it. So one more thing I wanted to note is, I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of questions about this and why didn't you just throw everything in the back seat? There's a bunch of space back there, why didn't you throw everything back there? Well, you guys saw the shed where I'm pulling the parts from. I have a lot more parts that are going back in this car. I mean, they're not getting bolted in, they're just gonna get thrown into the cabin. So the space in the cabin is reserved for that. A lot of these parts, like the engine, I'm not gonna put that in the cabin because it's so heavy it will deform the floors. Maybe it'll even break the floors. The dashboard is, mint condition, so I think the best place for it to be is in the car so it doesn't get dinged up. And I mean, that goes for all the other parts I put on the car. So that's why I did this. I know I'm gonna get questions about, why did you put so much time into putting this all back together, but it's the best route. For me at least, in my situation, this works the best. I didn't get the windshield on, by the way, but I'm waiting on the weather stripping to come and it's probably not gonna get here for like a week or 2. So I'm not gonna show that in this episode. Maybe I'll post something in my YouTube story and Instagram story, but that will go on before the car gets shipped away. And I'll give you guys updates on the shipping of it. You'll see in my stories, posts of it on a trailer and whatnot, and then you'll know that it's on its way to Austin and that videos will start soon. But I do have to do like 3 trips to Austin. So there's gonna be like a week, maybe a week and a half where I'm just driving back and forth. But after that, after we get moved in, I will be getting back to this car. I'm gonna be jump starting this series and just, plowing through this as fast as I can. I want this car drivable. I wanna hear it fucking roar. I wanna hear it turn on. I wanna see it drive down the road. I wanna be able to get really nice pictures of it in really cool locations and not have to tow it there. And in my opinion, I'm really not far. The shell is almost ready for paint. And then it's really just restoring all the little parts and putting everything back together, just like I just did, but with painted parts and with restored parts. So there's not much. I've gotten through the hassle of a restoration where it's getting everything off without breaking things and finding all the parts. I have all the parts. I've sourced everything. So anything I didn't have when I first got this car, I have now. Like the tail lights. Those tail lights actually didn't come with the car. The ones that came with it were super corroded. The plastic was cracked and broken throughout all of it. So I didn't actually throw them out. I put them on eBay. Some collector guy wanted them and paid, I think he paid like 20 bucks for them or something. But they go for like a couple hundred in the condition I have right now. So another reason I put them on the car is I just didn't want them dinged up. They're in just such good condition. But yeah, back to what I was saying about sourcing parts, I have everything. So it really shouldn't be too long of a process. I'm gonna try to put a lot of the restoration parts into, multiple videos, not spread them out too much, restoring the wheel, restoring the steering wheel, there's so many things that need to be restored. So just like the specialty things will have dedicated episodes, and then everything else, I'll probably do the whole suspension system will be an episode. Sandblast everything, new paint, install it, next episode. There won't be too many episodes. I know I spread out the demolition of this project a lot, but there were so many things that required full episodes, in my opinion. I mean, you guys might think differently. You might think, why didn't you just put the demolition all into one video? Why did you spread it out so much? But it really did take a lot of time. One thing I'm really thankful for is These organizers saved my butt when putting this car back together. After a year of doing this restoration, I have had so many bolts, and these 4 containers, each one has a dedicated spot. This is blinker house metal, front bumper, hood lifter. So like, these names, a lot of them I've made up, but make sense to me, so I can find out where all the bolts go. Things like rear tiny windows, dash B. But yeah, these saved me. I would never have known where all these screws were because, we got flathead screws here, and you have 10 millimeter bolts everywhere. You have 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter bolts. Some are Phillips head, some aren't. Some are long, some are short. If they're too long, like these bolts, if these 14s are too long, then your hood, you can't close the hood because the bolts are in the way. Anybody else doing a restoration, organize your bolts. It will save you later on. I got these all from the dollar store. They were $1 each. So $1, $2, $3, $4. And then just a bunch of little pieces of paper and a Sharpie. The next episode on this channel will not be about the 240Z. It will be about another car that I got. I bought a car right before moving to Austin, for moving to Austin. It's actually not a car, it's a truck. So you guys will see that posted here after this video. It's like a little rebuild. A couple, quick episode rebuild of a car that I'm gonna be using to transport things to Austin. So keep an eye out for that. Short series, but I'll do it quickly before we go to Austin. Thank you guys so much for following this restoration. It's been about a year since I started posting videos. I've gone from, I think, like 2,000 subscribers to like 14,000 subscribers, which is awesome. I've only put out, 10, maybe 15 videos on the car. So I'm just really grateful that you guys are all here. I really like making these videos, and I just can't wait to get to Austin and show you guys this garage that I got and start putting out these 240Z restoration videos again. Like actual restoration videos. Well, thank you guys again. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, that stuff. Thanks.